and thanks for joining us from our studios in Israel. I'm Aaron Porras, here with ILTV's Morning Briefing. Mere days after Hamas and Israel entered a ceasefire to halt the violence coming out of Gaza, terror cells fired a fresh barrage of rockets from the Strip into Israeli territory, bringing that deal crashing down. Most of the rockets landed in open fields, though Israel's Iron Dome defense system intercepted at least 3. No casualties or damages have been reported at this time. In response, though, the IDF has carried out 2 rounds of airstrikes on Hamas targets throughout the Strip. At least 15 Hamas sites, including a weapons manufacturing and storage warehouse, were hit in the airstrikes. Palestinian sources say that Hamas was not, in fact, behind these latest rocket attacks, though. Instead, a rogue terror group is believed to be behind this. But regardless of who pulls the trigger, Israel holds Hamas directly accountable for all security in Gaza, which is why these retaliations have struck Hamas targets. This is also why Hamas was apparently so eager to sign a ceasefire deal last week. Israeli counterattacks pummeled its military sites in one of the worst flare-ups between Israel and Gaza since 2014's Operation Protective Edge. In fact, analysts say that both sides are eager to avoid an all-out war at this time. But in order to avoid this scenario, Palestinian leaders will need to sow those seeds of peace for the people. Over the weekend in the West Bank, a Palestinian man attempted to ram his car into a group of IDF soldiers. Israeli security teams responded with live fire, killing the suspect on the spot. In related news, officials at the United Nations on Saturday condemned the killing of a volunteer medic at the Gaza border. 21-year-old volunteer paramedic Ghazan Najjar was fatally shot on Friday along the Gaza border. Witnesses claim she was easily identifiable as a health worker, and the UN humanitarian coordinator Jamie McGoldrick said the killing was, quote, particularly reprehensible, end quote. The UN Middle East envoy Nikolai Mladenov also tweeted that medical workers are not a target and that Israel needs to collaborate its use of force while Hamas needs to prevent incidents at the fence in the first place. Israel has not responded but has promised to investigate the killing. Najjar's death makes 119 Palestinians killed along the border with the Gaza Strip during weekly protests launched by Hamas. Hamas has claimed well over half of those killed as combatants of their terror organization, but the remaining dozens are mostly teens who are riding along the Gaza fence, throwing Molotov cocktails and grenades or attempting to breach into Israel. Still, many accusations of use of excessive force have been leveled against Israel. The United States on Friday vetoed a UN resolution condemning Israel for having a grossly one-sided view that failed to mention Hamas's instigations in the conflict. Though of the remaining members on the council, they either voted against Israel or abstained. The United States then proposed a second draft that was quickly shot down as well. A shocking media report has just set off a political bombshell. The UGANDA television program has accused Prime Minister Netanyahu of ordering the Shin Bet to place wiretaps on the former heads of both the IDF and the Mossad sometime in 2011. Though the report claims this information comes from unnamed sources close to the situation, both the Prime Minister and the former head of the Shin Bet, Yoram Cohen, have totally denied the allegations. The statement from Cohen, who would have been early in his tenure at the time of the alleged request, is unambiguous. Cohen says, quote, Prime Minister Netanyahu never asked me to listen in on former Mossad chief Tamir Pardo or former Chief of Staff Benny Gantz. I was surprised by the report. This is nonsense, end quote. Netanyahu released a similar denial on Twitter, saying that what he prefers to listen to in his free time isn't his co-workers, but rather the Beatles' first albums and ABBA. Despite these firm denials, the accusations have others rattled to the core. The report claims that Netanyahu ordered the wiretaps due to unfounded claims that his colleagues may have been leaking information. Others suggest that Netanyahu simply questioned their loyalty. Opposition members in the Knesset are demanding a complete investigation into these allegations, and it's important to note that this request was supposedly rejected in 2011 by the same man who today says the request was never made in the first place. The Israeli Interior Ministry has now ruled against recognition of the Abayudaya Jewish community of Uganda. The news was broken Thursday when Ugandan Jew Kibbutz Yosef's immigration application was denied. The ministry reported to Haaretz that the decision to deny Yosef's application was not against Yosef personally, but against the entire Abayudaya community. Kibbutz Yosef, who's been working in a kibbutz, has been ordered to leave by June 14th or challenge the decision in the High Court of Justice. The problem arises in the fact that the chief rabbinate does not recognize the Abayudaya community as Jewish to begin with. The roughly 2,000-person strong Abayudaya was recognized by the Jewish Agency for Israel, as they've been practicing Judaism for the better part of a century. But since most members of the Ugandan Jews were converted under the care of U.S. conservative rabbis, the ultra-Orthodox chief rabbinate still looks at the Abayudaya as non-Jewish. And while the rabbinate has no authority over immigration, Israel's law of return makes it difficult for those categorized as non-Jews to make the move. Looking to bridge the social gaps between Jewish and Arab Israeli neighborhoods, the government last week revealed that it plans to invest hundreds of millions of dollars into areas of East Jerusalem. The Leading Change program is to direct 2 billion shekels, or nearly $560 million, into repairing poor infrastructure, education, and employment of Palestinian women. Those 3 areas then divide into several subgroups with a variety of dedicated programs, many of which aim to secure future investments as well. Israeli President Rivlin praised the Leading Change initiative as the most comprehensive attempt by the government to date to narrow the gaps and to develop the economy in East Jerusalem, and that he hopes very much that, quote, the near future will ensure hope for change and ensure that we not give up on future generations, end quote. Others, including many critics, say the program may acknowledge an ugly truth, but does little to solve the issue. Jerusalem Mayor Nir Barkat also acknowledges that the Leading Change program is just a fraction of what's necessary, but he added that perhaps it will at least raise awareness regarding the growing issue. That's all for now. I'm Aaron Porras, and see you later with our main daily broadcast from Israel at 2 p.m. Eastern Time.